It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
One more time for old time's sake.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
And let's go. We're now smoking with the best.
Welcome back. It is hour 2 of Live Audio Wrestling. Yes, indeed, we have Dave on the line. But while we do this, once again, here's the deal. If you want to play Title Bout Trivia tonight, then call in now. It's 1-855-591-6876. And tonight you're playing for a brand spanking new T-shirt that we just put up, the new Review-A-Wania T-shirt for this WrestleMania. So that is the T-shirt you'll be getting. And you will also be getting tickets to Strikes-A-Mania, which is coming up on Friday, March the 31st here in Toronto. So 2 GTA or players that are willing to drive to Toronto is what we're looking for. You know the number, call now. But Dave Meltzer is on the line. Hi, Dave. How's your week?
Busy.
Yes,
I bet.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's been crazy this year.
We've gone through a lot of the page stuff already. We don't necessarily have to touch on that, but do you think there'll be any ramifications coming out of this, or do you think it's just going to blow over?
I think that WWE, I kind of heard from WWE, but not in any detail and not in any specifics, but the impression I was given was that they're looking at it to blow over, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think that, number one, there's the movie. There's the fact that if you do something to her, you pretty much can't bring Hulk Hogan back. And you pretty much have to do something to Woods, and I don't think they want to do it. And at the end of the day, I think they see her as the victim, and a lot of people do, and she is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's pretty much what we came to an agreement on the show before as well. All right. So putting that aside here, we have not touched on this week as of yet, but spent a lot of time on last week, was the Hardys. Now, of course, Rebby Hardy has been our look into the Hardys in regards to what's going on via her Twitter account. And she has stated that TNA sent the family a, quote, laughable legal proposal regarding trademark usage and ownership. What further do we know in regards to what's happening with the Hardys and Impact?
Essentially, what they're trying to do is to get the Hardys to sign off on the idea that they can do the gimmick, but that TNA has to get a percentage of the royalties, and they're trying to get a percentage of the money once they once they go to WWE. So that's what this is all about, and I think that's where the Hardys see it as laughable because they believe that it's their property and not TNA's property.
Well, even that approach, Dave, to do something like that where a company would get a percentage of a gimmick, like that's never been done before, has it?
Wait a minute. What about Marvel and Hulk Hogan?
Marvel, yeah, but that's not a wrestling company, a rival wrestling company.
Right, but that's another company.
It is. Yeah, there was that precedent, 30 plus years ago, but I think it's a different thing because WWE never considered Marvel their competition.
Right.
And plus, it's also Hulk Hogan, and the rules for Hulk Hogan are, even though the Hardys gimmick is big, the rules for Hulk Hogan are very different than the rules for the Hardys.
True. So we're waiting on that. And one thing that did come up, though, is Jeff Hardy had mentioned in an interview that it is a short-term deal that they are with Ring of Honor for. However, I would guess that the complexities of what's going on legally right now would potentially delay the plans that the WWE may have had for them, which looked kind of like right after WrestleMania.
Could. Yeah. I haven't heard anything that indicates that the Hardys are taking any independent dates, new independent dates past this month. They're past the end of April, I should say. So, based on that, I don't see them starting on WWE TV and then not fulfilling the independent dates that I've heard they are going to fulfill. So, it's possible they could show up at WrestleMania and then not do TV and then come in May easily. That could happen, or they could just come in May. But I haven't heard anything on a delay of that. I suppose, it's possible this could delay it because they don't want to. They probably don't want to debut without the gimmick, and if the gimmick is in limbo and not settled, it's probably in everyone's best interest to hold off the debut.
Yeah, well, that's it. Because if they have the issue with the gimmick, then they just bring them back as the regular old Hardys. That doesn't really mean that much.
Well,
doesn't mean as much.
Jeff will still be a big star, but for Matt, it'll be tough. Yeah.
TNA this week, of course, week 2 into the new. Sorry, not TNA. I guess Impact Wrestling.
Impact.
Now.
We got to get rid of those initials.
Looks like we had just heard they're working on a partnership with AAA, but they already have a deal in place working with Crash. Those two companies do not get along. How can this possibly work?
under the impression that they'll work with anyone, whether the people threaten to sue them or anything. It was amazing because it was just, they were, I wouldn't have thought they were going to work with AAA at all, and then I heard that, like, they want to work with everybody they can, and they don't care about the politics in Mexico, but the thing is AAA and the Crash care about it, but I guess both of them, I think the Crash wants Anthem because they think that Anthem can get them television in Canada for sure on the Fight Network, right? Yeah. So, and AAA wants television on the Fight Network too. So, and Anthem wants both of them.
Didn't know Canadian television was
such
that
a
valuable.
big deal. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah.
It's not so much. It's not so much that, but I think it's the idea of having an American partner that's TNA, which I think they both. The funny thing is I think the Crash wants TNA as a partner for sure, just because some of the talent and things like that, and also because Conan, who's the booker for the Crash, is a performer on TNA now. He's just returned, which makes the AAA thing even weirder because AAA, one of the reasons that they would probably want the deal is to get the Crash and Conan away, which I don't think they'll be able to do. But then with AAA, what's interesting is the reason AAA had never done anything with anyone in the United States was because they were, their American partner was Lucha Underground. So what does that tell you about Lucha Underground? Because TNA and Lucha Underground are television rivals.
It's very complicated, and I can see it just leading to trouble, especially some of these partnerships with AAA and that, because things seem to change so quickly.
Yeah. The idea that they're working with the Crash and AAA is kind of mind-boggling, actually.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to WrestleMania next year. This week it looks like, we heard Brock versus Roman Reigns is going to be your main event. That is set out right now for next year's WrestleMania. Curious, though, Dave, those are the two performers involved, but in regards to who's coming in as the fan favorite and who's coming in as the heel, has there been any indication in regards to that? Because right now Roman would look to be booked as the babyface, but going in there against Undertaker, if he beats him, that's a solid heel turn that they could do.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to try the heel turn. I mean, the whole thing with Undertaker made me think that they might or even would. I mean, everyone's been clamoring for the turn and then turn him back. So maybe that's this year's thing, is to turn him heel, have him go with a heel run, and then hopefully that the people turn him back like they do with Naito. And that's so unpredictable. Or they'll just try to turn him, or they'll just try to turn him back. But I mean, again, this whole thing. I mean, it's. The goal is Roman Reigns top babyface, coronation in WrestleMania, which seems to be like the annual story.
But even if you do turn him heel after the Mania match with Taker, to get him back with Lesnar again, I mean, I would think you would have to leave him heel, because aren't the fans just going to make Lesnar the babyface anyways? I mean, it doesn't seem to matter what he does.
Who knows a year from now? But as things look right now, you're completely right.
It's interesting. John brought up the fact that next year it's back in New Orleans. That is the site that Undertaker first lost the streak, and if Roman wins this year, it would be the two guys who have beaten the Undertaker in the main event at WrestleMania.
That's an interesting point.
It's a story. There is a story to be told there that can be built, thanks to one John Pollock.
That's right. I mean, but in that situation, I think that Roman Reigns, if they push it that way, would be a big heel, even though the only thing that gets people booed when it comes to Lesnar is mentioning the streak, but still, when it comes to the two guys, I think that people are going to hate Reigns more for beating Undertaker than they hated Lesnar, because deep down they liked Lesnar.
Yeah, that's the thing. I still see them. I think it's going to be hard to turn Lesnar heel if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to have been a heel. He's supposed to still be a heel, sort of, right?
Now, and speaking of Lesnar, Dave, he's going to work more dates now, too, right, once they put the title on him?
Yes, more dates this year. Yeah, it'll be the most of the, whatever it's been, 5 years that he's been back.
So he'll be around a lot more in the coming year.
Yeah, well, he's been on TV almost every week of late. So, I mean, I don't know about how many house shows he'll work, but he's worked house shows. Last weekend he worked 2 house shows, and he works house shows. It seems like he works house shows every couple weeks. The funny thing is like him on the house show is really not that big of a deal. Because,
why don't they use some of that footage on the TV? It blows my mind that they wouldn't show some clips from those matches on the TV to promote that, like to make use of it in some way.
Yeah, or at least on the network, right?
Something.
You know? I mean, like a Brock Lesnar comes to Chicago and put it as a network special. Why not?
Something, you know?
Yeah. Maybe they feel that they have so many network specials with the pay-per-views that they don't need, added house show specials.
I just think, because personally myself, I think they've underbooked Lesnar in this feud, and I really think showing some clips of him being dominant at house shows would help kind of build him back up again.
Yeah, well, especially the matches that he has where he destroys Big Show. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that would definitely help him. Yeah, or Kevin Owens or any of them. Yeah.
Finn Balor, Dave, is that a pre or a post WrestleMania return?
I don't know. I mean, if he's not on Monday, I would say that at that point, maybe like a Battle Royal entrant as a surprise. But then that's kind of weird because why I would say why debut him in that Battle Royal for him to lose?
No, that would be no good.
I would say why don't you debut him the day after WrestleMania? So I don't know the answer. I think that. Probably I would go with after WrestleMania.
I would think we need those surprises. You need those surprises on the Raw after Mania. I think that would be the perfect spot. I'm curious, Dave, with what they've done with Foley this week, and it looks like they're getting him out of the picture so he can have his surgery. But do you think they'll do it before Mania, or do you think he's part of Mania, or is he not part of Mania?
Boy, I think that he's on borrowed time. I mean, it's like 2 shows. I don't know if he's even back, if like last week was his blow up.
Right.
My impression is that, it's like it might be, but they may have 1 more week. But I don't think they have 3 more weeks. But it's definitely on its way to being the blow off.
Looking at other call-ups beyond WrestleMania, it's always a very exciting time. It's like the season premiere of professional wrestling. Nakamura not being advertised for a future NXT tour. It looks like he will be popping up to the main roster. Asuka has been working house shows on the SmackDown brand. Is that the plan for her? Dropping the title at TakeOver to Ember Moon and then moving on up to the SmackDown side?
Well, she's still being advertised for the European tour, and that's in mid-May. So I don't think that if it happens, I think it might be, we're talking more towards SummerSlam than right after WrestleMania, I think.
And in regards to other moves on up, or brand switch won't happen for a while, I would guess one of the tag teams from NXT. Remember the Revival?
Well, the Revival are certainly due to move up, and it doesn't look like Authors of Pain are going to move up because I think Authors of Pain are going to have a run with the championship first.
Which is fine. They have Heavy Machine. That'll be a bunch of big dudes in the ring together. Heavy Machinery seems to be getting a push there.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Dave, I'm guessing you got to see NXT this week. I'm not making fun here, but I would like to know Chris Hero / Cassius Ohno. Number 1, I don't understand why they haven't returned to Chris Hero. Number 2, I'm so distracted by the ring attire. And I know he's gained weight, but there's something to be said for emphasizing people's strengths and hiding their weaknesses. Is this a conscious effort to make this guy look bad?
I think the ring attire is a conscious effort to try to make him look better. If it doesn't work, then maybe they should rethink the ring attire. But I don't think the ring attire is there to make him look bad.
He looked like a very heavy Harlem Globetrotter.
Yeah, I think that they just want to cover up his body. I mean, that's just my gut.
But why white? White is the worst color for when somebody's overweight like that. Exactly, and really tight, really emphasizing how overweight he was.
I got no answer for that. As far as like why. I mean, the booking of him in that match. I mean, I thought that it was. The match was good, but I just thought that it wasn't the way I would have booked that match. I mean, finish would have been the finish. Bobby Roode has to win. Bobby Roode's going against Nakamura and Chris Hero Cassius Ohno. His job there was to set him up, but I thought that the idea would be to look really, really strong and build. Kind of do a thing where he loses, but maybe even loses with foot on the ropes or loses in a certain way to where. Because if Nakamura is going up soon,
he's the next opponent.
Cassius Ohno should be groomed to be the next contender. So lose in a very disputed way, maybe so he can come back. But that loss, it just wasn't the way I would have booked that one. I mean, it almost felt like it was the blow off of the feud, and it was the first match.
Yeah, it did. That's what I thought. That was it, one and done.
maybe that's it. But I don't. I mean, who on that roster? I guess they could always do Dillinger, as far as the top guy. But even if they're going to do Dillinger, there's still potential in Ono as being a top guy, and he wasn't booked like a guy who they're like looking. When they bring in guys for long term to groom them for the top, they don't bring them in like they brought like Ono and work a match like Ono worked.
Yeah,
very
so
true.
That was a little bit of a surprise to me.
Dave, we got to go for this week, but what's coming up in the Observer?
Oh man, so much stuff. More. Obviously more in the Hardys and just all the big shows, the build to WrestleMania, the. I'm just trying to think what other stuff is happening. It always starts breaking on Monday anyway. But a lot of reviews of different shows between UFC and PWG, and the New Japan Cup, and the build to the New Japan is having a big show the week after Mania. So that'll be it as well. And a story I've already written on Minami Toyota, and a story I've written on the business so far in 2017 for WWE and TNA, and how they're both companies are doing. All
right, look forward to that, Dave. We'll talk to you next week at this same time.
Okay, have a great week.
You too. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find his info.